So if I zoom all the way out on the dev tools, then the tab that I'm looking for is the one next to the console tab, right up here, the sources tab. And during this course, we're not going to examine these other tabs. They do many other different things, but for right now, we're just going to concentrate on the console and the sources tab. If I go ahead and click here, then it brings up the sources interface, and I'm going to zoom in. And first of all, there's the file selector pane right here. You may have to click on this button in order to get to it. And I want to click on my script.js in order to bring the file into the main part of the window. And then it tells me the name of the file up here. I've zoomed out a little bit more. The panes will rearrange themselves over here. So don't worry about that. We're not going to look too much on this side during this video. We're going to mostly concentrate over here inside the code. So the next thing is to actually create the breakpoint. And the way that I do that is I click on any of the lines inside of the line number column over here. So when I do that, then it creates me a blue arrow. So I'm going to scroll down to inside the main function at this console log. So when I click on this column, it creates me a blue arrow, and that means that when the code runs, JavaScript, the debugger tools, is going to pause on this line. So let's run this. I'm going to hit the submit button. And when I do that, it brings me into this new view of the page. My actual app HTML page is grayed out. It gives me this thing up here, which are the controls over the debugger. I also have those controls over here. And so the interface to pay attention to here are the play buttons. This is the controls you have over the code at this point. And then I can see that this is highlighted right here. So this is the line that I'm currently paused on. It's paused my whole program right here. Now we can talk about the true power of this debugger tool. I've put the debugger tools just on the other side of the screen so that we can see it from top to bottom. So what we want to be able to do now is examine all the values. My program's literally paused on this line 86. And what I can do by clicking on these three dots here is get to the console. So I'm going to do show console drawer. And this is going to bring up the actual console here. So I want to just be able to rearrange my panes inside of this tool so that I can best see. And down here, I can type in any value that I want for the current context of where my program is. So I've already drawn the card on line 79. And I'm about to console log it. So this line 86, what this means is that line 86 has not run yet. But I've already created this variable. So if I type in the name of the variable over here in the console, and I hit enter, then I can see all of the values inside this variable. The other thing is I can move these panes around, or if I zoom out, then I can see that this tool is also giving me the live values inside the program right here. It's telling me for each of the variables what the actual values are inside, which can be helpful. I've rearranged the windows again so that we can have the most clear view of the tools as possible. So I'm going to type a couple of things in the console, and we'll look through the values. We'll see that we can actually get to all of the values that we're dealing with here. So I can look at the card variable, and I can see my output value. So this is the current value of my output value. I haven't added these other things in yet. I can simply copy and paste this Boolean conditional evaluation. This is another really powerful way of being able to see what's going to happen. So this evaluation is going to be false. So let's just take a look. I can type in all of the variable names and really confirm that this is true. So it says that I'm going to lose, right? So this conditional here is going to be false. So it means that card, so the rank is 4. I have a 4 of diamonds. and the computer drew a queen of diamonds. So by typing in and like actually examining all of the individual values, I've now determined that the logic works the way that I intended it to. Now that I've examined the values that I wanted to examine in the console, I can go ahead and move the program forward. So I can either click on the play button right here, or I can do it right here. And this is just going to move the program forward. I can also at any time create a new breakpoint, and if I press the play button, that means that the program is going to move forward. If there are any other breakpoints, it's going to stop on those as well. So if I hit the play button, it's going to move past my current breakpoint and move to the next breakpoint. If I hit play again, then it's going to move forward, and if there are no more breakpoints, then the program is just going to continue. The other thing is that the place in my code where I have my breakpoints is inside the main function. So if I ever click the submit button again, then it's going to bring me back into the main function, and it's going to pause on the breakpoints again. You can see that each time when I draw a card, the data is different, and Chrome is helpfully displaying those values for me inside of the DevTools. So right here, you can see that it's just outputting, and I can, without even typing in the console, I can still just take a look at the values. The other powerful idea I'll show is that we can track the control flow execution of a set of functions. So by that, I mean that the way that we currently have our program set up is that inside of main, we're creating the deck and shuffling it when the user hits the submit button. So when I shuffle the cards, in the process of shuffling the cards, I need to get a random index in the deck array. So eventually I call this function, and one of the issues of control flow you may run into is the order that your functions get called in. So right now on line 54, get random index is being called by shuffle cards, which is being called by main index. And we can get the dev tools to show us this hierarchy of control flow. Now I've set a breakpoint on line 54 here inside of my get random index function, and I'm going to hit the submit button. So we're going to cause the get random index function to be called. And when I do that, I can pay attention to one part of the pane over here, which is called the call stack. And this is the order of the functions that got called in order for me to get to line 54. So notice how it lists the functions in the order that they got called. So the main function calls shuffle cards function. The shuffle cards function calls the get random index function. The last thing I'll show is the workflow as you're using the console and the breakpoints and stepping through all the values, which is that if you want to get rid of a breakpoint, you can simply click on the blue arrow again, and then it goes away. The other one is in this pane at the bottom under the breakpoints. It lists all the breakpoints out. So if I set another one, then they'll both be listed here. And then if I right click here, then I have some options in terms of how to set these breakpoints. So I can remove a single breakpoint, I can deactivate breakpoints, I can disable all breakpoints, I can remove all breakpoints. The other thing is that these are checkboxes, so I can just disable them if I want to keep them around but not have them run. So I have a bunch of options in terms of how to see if they run or not, keep them around for reference or not.